So I just finished reading Traum's story, and I have to say I quite enjoyed it. The ending was a little bit strange, but I guess that's just supposed to start setting up stuff for, more of, part two and the stuff that we're going to get into later, but it was definitely a little bit weird, and I kind of thought about it, and I was like, the whole reason I play FGO is for the story, so you know what, doggone it, I'm gonna make a video talking about the story of Traum, and I thought, what better way to do that than by kind of making it a little bit of a tier list here. Now, I will say, but if you're not done with Traum, this is going to have spoilers. I do think I need to be able to discuss these characters in their entirety or be able to reference events for why I put certain characters in certain spots, So if you have not finished Traum, or maybe you just don't care, right, just be aware that there are going to be spoilers in this video. So with that being said, we're just going to go in order, and I've kind of got these sectioned off into what I think are pretty good tiers, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Like, you have your goated characters, that these are the people that, after reading through all of Traum, I was like, man, these guys are just, they're the top. They're the best of the best. Like, I love these characters. Then great is probably going to be a decent chunk of characters that they were just good. I enjoyed when they were on screen. They might be lacking like that one moment or one thing, or maybe design wise, or weren't present enough for them to be quite a goated character, but I just liked them a lot. Good, but could have been great. This is because of a few characters in particular that I think were either, I don't know, almost like ham-fisted into being in the story. Like, they told Higashide, hey, we need you to put this character in there because we want to release them in a little bit, so we need some basis for them to be around. Or I feel like I liked what I got from that character, but I just wanted a little bit more. Maybe I did feel that they didn't get enough screen time, or the screen time they had was good, but they're just missing out, or maybe they got to the story a little bit too late. And then unfortunate mid, I mean, these kind of speak for themselves. Like, unfortunate might be those characters that they're not bad, it's just they didn't get used super well in the story of Traum, and I'll kind of break that down whenever we get there. Then mid is just, I didn't really care for these characters too much, which I don't think there's going to be anybody in mid. We'll kind of get there when we get there, but yeah, I just hope that explanation works as a breakdown. But starting off, we're starting off strong, bro. Don Quixote, I absolutely love Don Quixote. I understand why on the JP side of things, when he released, even though he's not the craziest servant, he's still good, but he's not like this nut-busting OP servant, why people still liked Don Quixote. Because not only is he just kind of funny to watch going through the story, but it's really interesting. It's like this insight into, like, one of our heroes that's actually just kind of scared. I really like the idea that Don Quixote was there in 5.1, but he was like, dude, I can't do this. I'm dipping. And so Sancho's like, yeah, we're going to get out of here. Let's just leave. My job is to pretty much keep you alive. And that finally culminates in him standing up to Constantine, who he can't hope to be, right? It's, basically the fraud knight versus one of the more legitimate kings. I mean, he's the last Roman emperor, right? He's got to be a pretty big deal. And he still holds his ground. He even knocks Constantine back a little bit during that fight. And because of him doing this, it also leads into a moment that helps out another character that we'll talk about in a little bit. But I also just thought it was hilarious that they had Don Quixote masquerade as Charles the Great, which is, if you were like, oh man, ZTO, why did you clickbait us on the Don Quixote video? It's literally a bit from Traum itself. I was like, you know what? This is way too funny. People that have read through Traum will probably appreciate it. A ton of people did dislike it. I'm assuming those are the people that did not read Traum and did not get the bit, but I did think that was really funny because it's like, oh yeah, Charles the Great, or Rex Magnus Carl, if you don't know, it's the ruler version of Charlemagne, is this like big hulking dude, and Don Quixote is just not that. So I thought it was a very, very funny, not what would you say, like, not pulling the rug, I guess, type of thing, but it was just funny. I really enjoyed it. Diarmuid Saber, okay, this one I think is really unfortunate. I liked Diarmuid Saber whenever he did pop up, but he just really was not present in the story of Traum. I have this ongoing thing for especially part 2 of FGO that depending on the servants that we have on our side, that's how screwed we are. Going into Lost Belt 3, we start off with Neza, who, even though Neza's a Chinese servant and a Chinese Lost Belt, they should get that fame boost and everything, and they should be kind of strong. Neza doesn't really get the respect I think they deserve in FGO, as opposed to we go into Lost Belt 4, and we have Rama and Karna right off rip. I knew we were just going to get our butt cheeks clapped, because there's no way you're going to give us two of the better heroic spirits in India, right, where they're getting the fame boost. And I'm like, there's no way we're cooking in this one. We're just absolutely going to get booty blasted. And lo and behold, we did find that Ashwataman and especially Arjuna Altar were the Himathes. They were definitely pretty strong. So Diarmuid Saber was one of those servants that he's pretty good. He's like one of our more like skilled hand-to-hand fighters. And one of his interludes, he actually just beats Yugioh in like a straight-up fight, the swordsman style, right? And as you guys know, Yagyu's pretty crazy. So getting Diarmuid Saber, I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I know Lancer Diarmuid did kind of get done dirty in Fate Zero, and in America, he didn't really get to do much because that's earlier FGO story. But here, I was really hoping a lot for him, and he doesn't really get to do very much. I mean, I liked some of the stuff that he was saying. I like that he's kind of more heroic-y and, I don't know, just a good guy. I mean, Zhufu points that out. She's like, oh man, this guy is just too good. But it doesn't really extend past that, which I think is a little bit unfortunate. Astolfo and Roland I could kind of just put up here together. I do think I like Roland's more. I've had more time to think about this. They're both just really enjoyable during the Singularity. I do love the dichotomy of the Knights of the Round Table are all these like very serious, you know, we carry ourselves with a lot of respect, and you know, we're gonna go do this job to the best, like they're very stoic, you know. But Charlemagne's knights are just a bunch of dummies, right? Not that they're not as impressive as the Knights of the Round Table, but it's a little refreshing to just get a group of just idiots, dude. They're just dumb. They all share the same brain cell, like I'm pretty sure. It's very entertaining to watch. Astolfo is very entertained by, especially his final little bout against Tomotomo. I did, like, as soon as they were like, oh, you got to use your lance, I'm like, oh, there's no way, right? We're just going to take out Tomotomo's legs, then that's how we win the fight. But, I mean, Tomotomo still did at least trade with Astolfo, even with a glaring weakness that Higashide gave him to make him kind of beatable. I still liked the moment. I thought it was very nice. I like Roland's a little bit more, because initially I thought it was lame. I'm like, really? Roland's going to like give his life so he can open a gate? You know, I don't care how impressive you make this gate sound. It's still a gate. But I thought about it more about just the character of Roland, and I was like, well, I mean, to be fair, that gate could have been any other servant or any other object or any phantasmal beast, and it would still be really cool. So if I think about it in the light of, you know, Roland was really ready to give away everything just to make sure that his allies could get it, I'm like, that's true hero work right there. Like, that's that good stuff that we really enjoy. And plus, well, Roland is a big dummy as well. He never really strips down during the Singularity, because that's the thing. It's like when Roland is like clothed, that's how you know he's like doing fine. If he strips down, you know, he's going to be a little bit loopy, right? And he never really does that. So if anything, between him and Astolfo, Roland's a bit goofy, but he's like, dude, Astolfo, you gotta stop being a big dummy over there. Okay, we gotta get serious for 2 minutes, you know? He's kind of the straight man of their group, of the two of them, and I really do enjoy that. I did like Zhufu. I thought she was good. I just wish I kind of got more from her, but that might be because I was enjoying Zhufu in the Singularity, because I thought she was going to be way more impressive than she was, because she's Qi Shi Huang's court mage, and she's supposed to find this elixir of immortality, but then I went and did, like, some reading on her profiles and stuff, and I'm like, oh, she doesn't even have her NP. So she's more of this fail girl during the Singularity, and it's really funny. And so I really did enjoy it a lot. I wish we maybe got a little bit more out of her, and I wish we got to say goodbye to her, because, you know, if you don't know, we pull up to the front gate and Zhufu's like, yeah, I'm already dead. I was like, well, come on, man. Like, I don't even get to say goodbye. I get to say goodbye to, you know, the Pope and Bramante. I don't get to say goodbye to Zhufu over there. Come on, man. All right, Charlemagne. Charlemagne, this was a really interesting one for me, because this is not where he ends up, but when I played through Fate Extella Link, I really did not like Charlemagne. And you guys have been hearing me say that, you know, leading up to his banner coming out, I've always been like, oh, I'm not the biggest fan of Charlemagne, but, you know, if you are, you can go ahead and summon for him, blah, blah, blah. I was trying not to be too negative about it, but in Fate Extella Link, in the grand scheme of things, you know, I thought he was a pretty mid servant. I was just like, okay, I don't like this guy that's just over here being like, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. Oh, this is so cool. I'm like, my brother, can you take the situation a little more seriously? Can you actually beat one dude in a one-on-one? I was like, this guy is a certified fraud, man. But after going through Traum over here, I do really, really like Charlemagne now. I at least like this depiction of him. I think the moment of him finally coming in and deciding to use his abilities to back up Don Quixote, which was funny because I was reading this with a friend. I read the whole thing with him. And whenever Don Quixote was over there, I was like, Charlemagne, you cannot let Don Quixote die. Do not let him die. And I was not disappointed. I definitely think Charlemagne could have been completely wasted in Traum. And I think it was very easy to mess this up because if you're a long-time FGO player, especially if you know that Charlemagne's already on the banner, it's so obvious the guy in the prison with you was Charlemagne, right? And the guy that's running around, it's so obvious it's him. And I'm like, you are really building this up, Higashide. It better be good. And I do think it worked out a lot better. I do just wish that those little in-game cutscenes they do, maybe we could get something like, even Star Rail where they have their in-engine cutscenes that are a little bit better. I wish we could get stuff like that. These moments might hit a little bit more, but hey, maybe that's what they're doing that big maintenance for, in 6 weeks. Maybe that's what's going to be bringing us like in-game cutscenes and stuff. Even just like a 5-second cutscene, it could be really cool, but yeah, I ended up really liking Charlemagne. I think it was very, very wasted that he never used the third ascension because he mentions that he and Rex Magnus Carl have come to an agreement and have kind of merged their abilities together. So I would have liked to see that come out, but I still really enjoyed Charlemagne in the Singularity. Siegfried, I already really like Siegfried. You guys heard me. I did a whole appreciation post just for Siegfried, just because he got a buff. It was any excuse I can to talk about this guy. I mean, in Fate Apocrypha, I already love this dude. I'm like a huge sucker for like those true hero characters. Like I really like people like Superman. I like Optimus Prime a lot. Even from like Disney, I really like Hercules a whole lot. I like these big heroic characters. And so Siegfried kind of being the thing that turns the tide for us, I think is really sick. And I think it's so sweet, the little thing with his wife. I was expecting him to have some weird thing where it's like, Siegfried's going to betray us when we walk in the throne room, but it's like, no. He's like, I just wanted to stand by my wife at the very end. And I'm like, dude, Siegfried is just the I love my wife character. And as much as I also like Kriemhild, makes me like him even more, man. I think it's super sick. So I'm really glad about that. I think his standoff with Tomoegozenn was really cool. It made him seem really insane. So, I'll always take the the Siegfried, I guess, stroke off, I guess is what Higashide call it. It's probably the easiest way to say it, but I think it was pretty good. Vlad, I think, is a little... I'm going to put him more in the unfortunate area. I really am sad about what happened to Vlad. I think this could have been a time for Vlad to really shine, but as much as I like him, it always feels like he's getting the short end of the stick. In Apocrypha, he gets to fight against Karna, which is one of the better fights in my opinion, but then, immediately gets turned into a vampire and just gets taken out by Amakusa. Even in, like, the light novel versions, he just gets taken out pretty quickly. And then in here, he pretty much gets spawn killed by Moriarty. And then from there, I think it's so cool that we get to see Vlad's leadership abilities, right? And especially as somebody that really likes the history of things, I thought it was really cool that we had both Vlad and Constantine in here, two people that had encountered Mehmed II, but one of them was able to win while the other lost. I know Constantine has the whole thing of like, the last bulwark wasn't, there, but Vlad just scared him off. He did the whole like, stake post thing, whatever you want to call that, right? The whole reason they even call him Dracula. So I think he's so sick. And I love the idea of having two people that have relevancy to one another. But I don't know. I do wish they got to have some kind of show-off fight against one another. It really felt like Vlad... I don't know, man. Like, maybe it would have been, like, too much. Because then, like, in the middle of the story, when we're supposed to be retreating, maybe Vlad being able to also be part of our forces to help fight off the enemy might have made things a little bit more awkward. I don't know, but... yeah, I don't know. It was just a bit unfortunate. I will say, for Holmes, I ended up really liking what was done with Holmes towards the end of the Singularity over here, because I was always kind of neutral on Holmes. As many people might know from coming out to streams, I don't really like Da Vinci very much. I think Da Vinci kind of says a lot of really dumb things at FGO that just don't make sense. Like, we're going through something and Da Vinci will just start yapping about nothing. Super strange. But Holmes, I do feel like that when he's doing the yapping, it just feels better. Even though it's being written by the same person, they just somehow make it more concise, but also I get everything I want out of the explanation. I think it's very sick. I also just like the whole idea of the mind game between him and Moriarty going on in this Singularity. And I like that even until the very end, Holmes was like, you know what? I might be one of the foreign disciples, but I'm going to give, like, my last thing to help out Chaldea. I like that even as he's dying, he gives us a little bit of a helping hand. Although it does really suck, because it's one of those moments where throughout the Singularity, I'm like, dude, I'm liking Holmes a lot more than I thought I would, This guy's really sick. But then I already knew the spoilers that he was going to die. So it was one of those unfortunate things that the more and more I read, the more and more I liked Holmes, the more and more I was realizing, dog, he's just going to die at the end. This is so sad. Constantine, I think, is one of those good characters that could have used a lot more. When Traum first came out, people were like, oh, Constantine's a weird guy and he's a bit of a simp for the Pope. But after I was reading through the Singularity, I just enjoyed it. I think it was a very, like, sweet interaction between the two of them. I think that's very nice. Fate doesn't usually, and I know this is going to sound very ironic, but FGO specifically doesn't really dive into romance plots that much, I don't feel like. Because, you know, a lot of the things with, say, Ritska, they kind of want to keep the main character like, ooh, we don't want to tie him down to anything, you know, because it's supposed to be like you can kind of self-insert yourself there a little bit, so they don't want to be like, oh, well, he's canonically with Joan or something, because then if you're not a fan of Joan, then that sucks for you, you know, they're not going to do anything like that. But so getting some actual romance between just kind of two characters naturally, I just really liked, you know, naturally in the way that it's not Zhang Yu and Consort Yu, right? Like two people that already loved each other in life. I do like that there's this idea that these are just two like heroic spirits that were just like, you know what? I like this other person. I think they're pretty nice. You know, I'm going to see where this goes. And it's unfortunate that for Pope Joanna that she really only realizes that talking to Bramante after the Singularity is done. But I just really like that. I also think it's very... again, like a very big sucker for like heroic moments, but you know, like Constantine giving up himself to save Pope Joanna, I think is very sweet. You know, I think it's really cool. I also think it's really cool that he's got like no spirit core and he's just like, all right, Revenge Realm, and he's like, bring it on. You know, I got nothing, but I'm going down swinging. You know, I do like that a lot. I do think the Reinstatement Realm was the weakest realm, though, of the three. That I cannot deny, because obviously the Revenge Realm, they get focused on pretty much the most because they're the antagonists, and then Righteous Realm is us, so we also get covered a lot. Reinstatement didn't feel like it got cutaways to as often, and they didn't have, say, a trump card like the Revenge Realm did. It was just a little weird. It was a bit unfortunate for him, but Pope Joanne is kind of in the same boat. I think I like her a little bit more than Constantine, but I can't say that she's in the great one. But she did go, okay, to be fair, for her, she did go from, like, not even being on the tier list, like a nothing burger character that I saw last Valentine's, to now being a character I'm considering rolling for, because I'm like, dude, Pope Joanna is just a little sweetie pie. And she's also, though, she talks so much crap to people, and it is hilarious. Dude, there is something funny about seeing a pope just talk ridiculous mess to people that I just love it, right? I would love to see more from her. I'm hoping that by the time Valentine's comes out, that her story for whatever that's going to be will be just good. Like, even if it's just good or solid, I think I'll probably move her up to, like, great or something, but I really did like Pope Joanna. Bramante, I think, is one of those unfortunate characters in the Singularity that she doesn't really get to do much because, again, she's in the Reinstatement Realm, so she's not focused on as much, and even then, she kind of pops up a little bit late into the Reinstatement Realm, and so by the time that we all link up and we're all, like, one unit, Bramante doesn't really have anything to do. It kind of just feels like she exists to talk with Pope Joanna, and then outside of that, she really doesn't have anything else to do. It's a little unfortunate for her. That's pretty much the best way I can say that. Kiyohime was pretty mid in the Singularity. She really did just pop in out of nowhere. Nothing against Kiyohime herself, but story-wise and what she was able to do, like, she pops up randomly, burns down the forest, leaves, pops up randomly in the middle of the Revenge Realm to help Charlemagne fight some servants, and then just dips forever. Like, she does not really have to be there, right? It's really, really strange. I don't know. There's just not a whole lot to Kiyohime. All right, Kriemhild. I knew that I liked Kriemhild just from a design perspective, but I was completely blown away by how much of a real character this was in the Singularity. Because sometimes there are those very cutesy characters in Fate that it's like, oh, I just like this character because they're cute. You know, that's pretty much the only reason. But Kriemhild, I actually just like what they did with her in the story. The idea early on established by Zhang Jue that no, Kriemhild is not just monstrously strong, she is incredibly intelligent, right? Like, she outpredicts pretty much everyone the entire time. I mean, Constantine dying was something she set up. She was like, I'm going to take out the Pope, But ideally, Constantine will move in and reach the same conclusion that I did, and then he will be lost. And without him, the entire reinstatement realm falls. But even if he does not decide to do that, I still take out Pope Joanna, which destroys, their entire morale, right? And so it's just very like genius planning on her part. I really liked it a lot. I think her final confrontation with Siegfried was very sweet, especially as somebody that is more familiar with the Sigurd Brynhild stories than I am with the Siegfried and Kriemhild side of things. I thought it was very interesting to kind of get a look into that. And I do hope that in my Chaldea, at least, they are, somewhat at peace, that, they're able to amicably, get along and whatnot, because it was very sweet at the very end. And again, it does really help that Kriemhild is tied to Siegfried, someone I already really like. So it's just this circular logic of them making each other way more cooler in my eyes. Okay, you guys saw me when I put this up the other day, but I just put in all caps. I was like, dude, Zhang Jue is like the goated caster. I really do like him. I don't know if I could fit him into goated. Like, he's definitely great. I definitely, you know what, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to put him up in there. It's my tier list. I can put as many people in GOATed as I want. Dude, I love Zhang Jue throughout this entire thing. I love my schemy characters, especially in Fate. They're so interesting to watch. I mean, think about, Fate Zero, Stay Night, Apocrypha, all like the schemy guys. Like, you really want to follow them and be like, all right, what are they cooking? What are they up to over there? And Zhang Jue is perfectly that. I mean, he even references, he's like, oh, am I really that much of a shady old man? And everyone's like, yeah, you are. You're a real shady guy. And I think the mystery of, what is going on with Zhang Jue from like when we first try to take him out and he turns into dust, and then we take him out a second time, we're like, okay, he's trying to become a Shen, so we take him out and we're done, right? No, he still disappears, and it's all to be revealed that Zhang Jue is the original servant summoned by an alien to create the singularity. Is crazy. It's nuts. Does it make a whole lot of sense as like the very end thing, and do I wish there was more explanations? Yes, but that's more of a critique of the story. Zhang Jue as a person, I think is super dope. I mean, dude, he made a whole bunch of like clones of himself that were all autonomous and were all gooning against everybody else. It is so hilarious. I absolutely love this guy. I mean, and he's also the one that really hypes up Kriemhild a lot and makes her feel a lot better. I can't put Salome in mid, because I do like what they did with Salome more than they did with, what's her face? Kiyohime, but I feel like she's probably around there. Very unfortunate she gets taken out early on, but it did make me appreciate Salome a lot more as like a character that I really haven't looked into too much. I mean, her like original like reference material in the Bible is like not all that much anyway. It's like a short little snippet in a chapter, but it was kind of like a character that I had no basis or any impression of. And then the fact that they were even able to kind of get me interested in them, I really liked. I thought it was pretty sick. So not a whole lot to say about her because she's not there for too long, but I did like for what little screen time she had that maybe we could have gotten some more. And it's unfortunate that she had to get taken out so early. Personas is technically there for like all of 3 minutes. They're really not there. But technically, there is 100 personas there for a chapter, I think, where they're running around chasing Salome down, so I shrug, I suppose. Tomotomo, I thought was really, really sick. I thought he was really cool in the Singularity, but I don't think I can put him any higher than that, because unfortunately, he is definitely one of the shoot-in characters of all time, because he kind of comes in out of nowhere, and then he kind of gets beaten out of nowhere as well, and then nobody talks about it. And I do feel like it's one of those things that the FGO staff came up to Higashiri when he was writing, and they were like, can you please fit Tomotomo and I guess Tomboy Archer in here as well, who, I mean, I thought was cool, but like she's literally there for like 2 seconds. Like she really just does not get to do anything. At least she gets to shoot Zhang Jue and like allow us to beat the second clone, but yeah, they both kind of feel like mandated things that they were forced to put in there. But at least Tomotomo has a really cool standoff with Siegfried. And he's apparently this like really big OP servant. I was kind of asking the buddy that I was reading through Traum with about it. And he was like, yeah, think of him as like the Lu Bu or like Zhang Yu of Japan, right? He's kind of like that kind of guy. He's like this big deal warrior man. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, if I think about it like that, no wonder this guy is super strong. But I'm hoping that the Bakin event that we're going to be getting in probably about 2 weeks here will flesh him out a little bit more, let him kind of chill out. If you haven't seen his dialogues, by the way, I encourage you to look at his Ascension dialogues. It's super funny, especially the last one. So I'm gonna try to not summon for him because he is on every single banner, but I do think of him a little bit more than I don't know. Like I wish he had more. I wish he was more well integrated into the story. Okay, I gotta put a number 1 up here. I gotta put it like this. I love Ruler Moriarty so much. This is definitely like one of my favorite Fate characters of all time. I know you guys know that Gilgamesh is my favorite character. After we finished reading through Traum, I was thinking back about going through Shinjuku and how much I liked Archer Moriarty, plus how much I like Ruler Moriarty. I think Moriarty as a character is competing with Gil as one of my favorite characters in all of Fate. It's really hard because Gil is also super sick. But Moriarty, I just love the way he kind of carries himself in the Singularity, especially because in his materials it says that he has like confidence issues. So like he tries to be like a big goofy guy. So it's kind of like, okay, you can't get made fun of for being a fool if you always are acting the fool type of a thing, right? So I love that. But then, I mean, the fight with him and Sherlock I think is really sick. I think the mystery of what his divine spirit is, like what his extra abilities are. I do really like the explanation at the very end that he gives. I wish he just like would have yapped more. Like Moriarty's one of those characters that just please yap and give me more information. Would have absolutely loved that. And I think the idea of him being like, you know what, no, I'm going to take over Chaldea and we're going to be super efficient, knowing, and I'm not going to spoil anything for Lost Belt 7, but thinking about Lost Belt 7 and what I do know of it, man, if we did just take Moriarty up on that offer, we might have such an easier time getting through that. But I just love him. I just think he's so sick. I gotta move on because I think I could just sit here and yap about Moriarty like all day. Okay, let's get let's get the goats in here. All right, let's get Sicilian Rider. Let's get Weeaboo Assassin in there. All right, they're just very funny NPCs. I just like the both of them. They're just good guys. Unfortunately, the Berserker doesn't really have a whole lot. Neither does the Caster or really any of these guys. The only one that really kind of stood out to me was the Saber, who I thought was kind of cool. He was like, oh, I don't have a holy sword or anything, but I can still do the best that I can. I did like the Saber a little bit, but these two definitely feel like they were the ones that Higashida put the most into. But if you want to make your own tier list for Traum over here, I will put that in the description, and I should also make it a pinned comment unless I forget. In which case, check like 8 hours after the video goes live, and then I'll probably be like, did I make that a pinned comment? And so I'll drop it there for you as well. And if you want, you can join the Discord and drop your own tier list, or be like, hey, this is what I thought of Traum and whatnot. But yeah, this is about my opinions of the entire Singularity. I would like to do this more, not for every single event, but maybe for main story chapters, because again, the entire reason that I do play Fate is for the story, and so being able to kind of talk about it and see the opinions of other people in the comments, I'm going to be really looking forward to, because there's going to be some people that are going to be like, no, I hate Moriarty because he killed Holmes, which originally, because I didn't like Holmes too much before Traum, I was like, good, let Moriarty kill Traum. Get him, get the fraud out of here. But then after reading Traum, I was like, oh, come on, man, we didn't have to do all that. That was unnecessary. That was just mean. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. You guys, have yourselves a nice day. Peace.